know. I'm wondering why, with it being so new, are we so critical instead of curious?
Do we actually know though, based on, and I'm going off of what your perspective is based on what I heard you say moments ago. You seem to have a hard stance on qualifying, and so I do understand that you need to give something an adequate amount of time to be a proven concept. But I also believe that this is me, that sometimes people jump on fads of sorts,
Right.
and therapy seems very faddish. It seems very much of, okay, because if you look at human society predating therapy, most societies have functioned quite normally without this said therapy being a thing that you needed in order to progress through one's life.
Can you be traumatized and still be accountable? What does that look like in real life?
Sure. Yes, you can be traumatized and still be held accountable. Just because you were traumatized as a kid, it's not an excuse for you to grow up and be the same person that traumatized you. The same way that you wanted that person who turns you into this traumatized person to not traumatize you, you have the onus to do the same thing to be the same thing yourself. I think that it would be weird to say that just because somebody's been through a bunch of stuff, and because they've been through so much stuff, they can't be held accountable for what they do based on what they've been through. That's one of those I'm healing type excuses.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of people lean into that, right? They were traumatized, so you should excuse me. And in many situations, people will allow it because they'll understand their history and sympathize and sometimes try to empathize with them. Now, shit, I was guilty of it when I understood that people um, came from troubled past. I would let certain things slide, but uh, what I've learned is that they don't really stop. Right, once you let people cross a line, they become a habitual line crosser. So you have to be very careful with that. Sometimes with family, it's a good idea to give them a little bit more grace, and I always do try to offer grace. But going back to the understanding that you're talking about, trauma, and then there's the trauma actually affects people differently, right? Some people experience the same type of trauma and become more disciplined. You turn into a monster because of it, and you want to be excused because of it, and it's at my expense, not yours. So for me, I'm going to have boundaries, and now where I am in my life, I choose to not deal with that. That type of element has no business in my life, right? Especially once you become responsible for others, you don't have time for those sort of things. Is no reason for a person to be dealing with all this extra anguish just because somebody else went through something. And it might sound, sort of cold or whatever, but no, we're not doing that. For 2026, people need to stop letting people violate them. You need to cut out energy vampires because some people don't even always do certain things all the time, but they would just bring your energy down just because they're loading you up with all of this trauma dumping and making you feel a type of way. You got to exclude these people. It's really not your problem. If you don't do this professionally, if that's not what you do and you're not built for that and it's going to spill over into your life, cut them the hell off.
So, can you be traumatized and still be accountable? What does that look like? I think I would say yes. And the way that that would look like is recognizing triggers. So, people, so once you go through something and you know that you're triggered by something, sometimes you won't know that you're triggered until you're actually triggered. But recognizing your emotions in that manner, like when it actually happens, and then reacting accordingly will is the way that you could be accountable experiencing trauma, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that makes sense, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I was triggered, and then they use that as an excuse to be all irate and crazy, but they know that something is a trigger.
Your hair looks nice tonight, Naomi.
Oh, thank you, I brushed it.
A lot of volume.
I have a lot of hair.
At the end of the day, bro, just trauma explains behavior. It doesn't excuse it. So you can't escape accountability just because of what you've been through. Like that's weak and I don't know, and like adult cowardice to think that okay, well, I was traumatized as a kid, so now I'm gonna beat kids too, or my dad wasn't around, so I don't want to be around for my children. Like, bro, that's a choice. Like what happened to you wasn't a choice. You had no say in that, but what you choose as an adult, it says who you are. And if you use your trauma as an excuse for that, then you're just weak.
Do you think therapy talk is helping people grow or helping people dodge hard conversations?
I think therapy is the new non-prescription drug. I believe that it's something that people who are not very interesting attached to their lifestyle, because most people are pretty basic and rudimentary. So I think that people try their best to attach to something that appears like they are developed or seasoned or sharp. And saying that I'm in therapy can be a talking point. It can also give people the illusion that you're actually progressive. But yeah, no, it's yeah, I think it's just it's laughable. I don't think that it's helping people, just based on my observation, mainly because it seems that therapists are providing people a space to talk. But I think, like Pretty Intellectual said, it'd be hard to quantify how effective it is. What is the progress of people? How is that manifesting in daily lives? Are we having a more developed society? And based on what I observe, not so much. But you can get therapy on your computer now. Don't even got to leave your house. So I guess that's how I answer that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when we talk about is therapy working, is it not working? Because quite literally a part of the sciences is seeing things over a span of time. And the idea of even therapy, especially in the Black community, is very new. So we have actually not been able to give it enough time to see if it works or not. All of these terms that we're getting irritated by, these are maybe terms that a lot of people have been using that we just have not been using because we've said, don't go to therapy, go to church, right? So when we even think about how new it is, we'd have to be a little bit patient and give it a little bit more time. But the idea that we're overusing, incorrectly using terminology is at least an indicator that we're being exposed to information. So I actually don't take it as being a negative. It's more so just when you hear somebody incorrectly using a thing, correct it. But at least they know the word. At least like we're starting to circulate it in our language that we do believe some things are predisposed. We do believe some things are learned. We do believe that you can recover from certain things and others are chronic. We do believe some things require medication and other things don't. So at least we now know it's, I don't know. I'm wondering why, with it being so new, are we so critical instead of curious?
Do we actually know though, based on, and I'm going off of what your perspective is based on what I heard you say moments ago. You seem to have a hard stance on qualifying. And so I do understand that you need to give something an adequate amount of time to be a proven concept. But I also believe that this is me, that sometimes people jump on fads of sorts.
Right.
And therapy seems very faddish. It seems very much of, okay, because if you look at human society predating therapy, most societies have functioned quite normally without this said therapy being a thing that you needed in order to progress through one's life. I mean,
normal.
Yeah, to some basis of normality, of course. And therapy was not needed because we used to have communities, we used to have tribes.
We're unaliving each other and going to war and like taking people out and like shooting up schools and like kids are. What are we talking about functioning normally?
All the way left. You went all the way left on that one.
No, we're not functioning normally. Like, think about what is happening. We are now doing shooting drills in schools instead of earthquakes and tornadoes. Like, we're not functioning normally. We're not doing well.
Pretty, I
those things.
thought you isolated this to the black community a couple
No,
minutes ago.
One
I'm sorry.
second. I isolated it in one example, sir. I'm speaking generally that the idea of therapy is still fairly new.
Okay, I thought you specifically were saying in the black community is fairly new. My
Yeah,
apologies.
so I zoom in and zoom out when I talk. So you got to keep up. You're an extremely handsome intellectual. You should be able to do it very well.
Thank
right?
you.
Okay, thank you. Anyways, so yeah, true.
I hear you, and like you said, you zoom in and zoom out, which that's your technique and how you have conversations. I think you like to.